Well, I mean, I think the 2 national championships should be one topic of conversation, and what it does for this year is it indicates there's a rich tradition here at Penn State in the women's volleyball program, and there's certainly some players that are still playing that have been instrumental in the success over the last couple of years, but it's a new team with new players, and you know, I don't think the one really has that much of a relationship to the other right now.
Over the last few years, you've played a lot of games. Obviously, you don't keep it in tournaments. How much does that help get your players getting experience?
Well, I think you know, everybody plays the same length of season. I think what's helped us over the years is just the strength of the Big Ten season really challenges teams throughout. You know, 2.5 months, the last 10 weeks of the regular season, we're playing 2 matches a weekend, home and away against good teams with big crowds, and you know, the stakes are pretty high. So I think when players are able to navigate that through the course of the season, that they learn a little bit more about themselves and the toughness required. And you know, there's a number of coaches in the Big Ten that want to go more of a split schedule and not have the weekend. 2 matches on a weekend, but you know, I think as long as the regionals are back-to-back nights, that it really is an advantage. At least I've always felt that it's an advantage.
After last season, having so many, after having your starter set in stone, do you feel like there's a little bit more of a rebuilding?
I mean, certainly I'm not staring at the door waiting for Nick, Kristen, Roberta to walk back in and you know, in practice apparel, ready to, you know, carry some of the load at practice. So it's certainly a different feel in the gym every day. The roles have changed for a number of the returning players, and you know, it's a smaller class that we had come in this year. So we certainly didn't really replace what we lost, but you know, that's part of the season. That's part of the game, and you know, you go after the players to be the best they can be and try to get the team to be the best the team can be.
Have the starting spots that opened up, is that creating some competition in practice?
I mean, there's competition. I mean, we try to make it as competitive as possible in practice. That's one of the things that I think's important. It'll be interesting to see once we start playing other people, just because, you know, playing against each other and the practice players, and AJ's had to play a lot because we didn't have our boy practice players back in school yet, so it was kind of a heavy load on him. But you know, there's openings. There's going to always be competition in sports, and I think that's a good thing. Well, you know, as I said yesterday in an interview, that if I had to put my lineup in, I'd be putting it in pencil, because it might be one way for one game and then totally different the next game. So you know, just because you have good players doesn't mean you'll have a good team. So it certainly helps to have good players. I don't think you can have a great team without having good players, but certainly they need to be committed to what it takes to be a good team for you to really try and approach competing at a high level as a team. So, you know, I'd say Darcy is penciled in as one of the outside hitters, and then the middle position is, you know, Fatima and Katie Cavas are putting some time in there.
Nicole and Krista got a lot of exposure and a lot of media attention last year, but maybe Roberta flew a little bit under the radar. How important is it for someone to step up in that libero role for you guys, and what that adds to the team?
I mean, that's a great question, and I agree. I thought Roberta was the best libero that we saw last year. So we played 38 matches, and I thought she was the most complete player at that position. She was good from the end line from a serving standpoint. She was a great passer, and she was our best defensive player. So she really solidified a lot of things. So that's been one of the areas that we've had some challenge. You know, it's been competitive with Kathy Quilico and Alyssa DeRico. You know, whether one's the libero and one's subs, or it flips back and forth, I don't think it really makes much of a difference. But certainly that's a really big gap that we have when we practice every day.
So it's not settled with Alyssa stepping into that libero role?
I think it's still up in the air. You know, that's the beauty of playing the season. At the beginning of the year, you'll probably switch some people around and see how it goes.
What are you looking for in your team this weekend?
Well, I think I'm just looking to see how they're going to play as a group. I think we have 4 players that were recognized last year in some manner returning. But as I just said, that doesn't transfer to this year unless they play well as a team. So I think that it's easy to be a second-team All-American when you're surrounded by first-team All-Americans. So the big challenge is for Blair and Ariel to step up and try and pick up, where we lost a lot of offense and blocking and just net play. So I think that's probably the part that I would see. What do we? We're looking to be a good team, to compete hard, to get better throughout the course of the season. I'm not sure how much better last year's team really developed from the beginning part of the season to the end of the season, but they certainly had other challenges as the season went along because people were identifying that they had not lost a game during the entire season until they got to the Final Four. So I think expectations change. This team has certainly will have different challenges than that team did.
In terms of leadership, have you seen any of the players step up this year to kind of take over a leadership role that maybe Krista or Nicole had kind of set forth?
I thought over the summertime that Alyssa DeRico did a real nice job during the summertime, and what we need is, I think we really need the 4 captains to just step up and kind of put their stamp of approval on not only the way they play the game and the expectations of the others, but how we should conduct ourselves on the floor and how we're going to react to challenges. And we maybe didn't call more than 20 timeouts all year. So I may call 20 timeouts this weekend because I got to do a lot more talking this year than I've had to do in preseason than I've had to do in the last couple of years. Well, I didn't vote as the #1 team in the country. So I think we're a team that if there's 8 or 10 teams that can realistically at this time of the year be talked about as a potential championship team, we certainly could be in the conversation based on the talent we have returning. But I wouldn't say that this team right now deserves that sort of attention. So is the weight of it. I think the players, once they get into competition, will have a lot of pride in their performance, and they'll want to show people that those that voted for them as the top team. And listen, I tell them the same thing that I'll say here. So they know that I didn't think they were the #1 team, and if they're capable of doing it, they'll do it. And I'd love for them to show me that they're that good. Well, I don't think it's, we want to get into that, but my vote wasn't for us at #1, but that's here nor there. I voted for us #1 last year when I thought we were the best team in the country, but I'm not sure I voted us #1 2 years ago at the start of the year. So the goal is to get better throughout the season. If you have a returning unit and everybody has great success throughout the year, and you can build momentum, things are a little bit different than when you maybe are starting with what we were dealing with last year when we had the entire roster returning from a team that won the championship minus Melissa Walbridge and Katie Price. So it was a very strong group last year, and this group will have to show if they're capable of playing at that level. What we don't have is a lot of depth. There's a lot of teams in the country, I think, that have a lot of depth, and if we have some injuries along the way, it's going to take a much bigger toll on us than it might be some other teams.
Coach, going back to the Nebraska match from last year, obviously you won all those games in a row and we lost 2. What did it say about your team kind of moving forward to this year that they were able to respond? And I think that helps them now too.
Well, a lot of the success of last year's team had something to do with the players that aren't returning. So certainly Alicia and Ari and Megan and Blair were on the floor during those matches, but Krista and Nick and Roberta had a great impact on the outcome of that match. And had it gone the other way, then certainly we would be talking about the great performance of the Nebraska players. So, you know, I think what they learned is as good a year as you have. If you don't win your last match of the year, people just think you wasted your opportunity.
How is Kelsey's knee, and how much do you expect for a report?
I mean, that would be something that the doctor and Kelsey would talk about. I really wouldn't be able to talk about that.